Hey everyone, it's Ryan back again for sonofvin. Well, I hope you've been doing well lately. I know I have. I've been enjoying reading more wine books, trying new wines, trying to get myself just a little more educated on the topic. My taste profile, my aromas, all of that are just not where I wish they would be by now, but I'm still working at it as best I can. But today's tasting is not probably going to help any of that. This has been a tasting that, well, I planned to do about a year ago, and when the pandemic hit, I got way behind, and I've been sitting on these for over a year, hoping someday I could do a video about them. And today is that day. So here we are. So if you remember, a few years ago, one of my first videos was about Rebel Coast Winery, who was doing cannabis-infused wine. And then I did a sequel video when they released a second version of their wines. And those seem to do pretty well here on YouTube. But I decided that, well, there are other cannabis-infused wines that are going to be available. I hope someday to do reviews for them. And today is that day. Here we are with another company called House of Saka. Now, I wasn't too familiar with them before, but I had a chance to read up on them, study them a bit. It's pretty much an all-female team. They like to make wines in Napa. I'm not seeing that within the past year too much expansion has happened with these wines compared to when I purchased them, say, I'm guessing somewhere in the spring or early summer of 2020. I'm not entirely sure when that was, but somewhere in that ballpark. But I don't really see too much difference today than I did a year ago. So I'm not sure if the whole cannabis-infused wine thing is kind of taking a hit due to circumstances, or if this is just the norm for what to expect. Now, I do see that there are a lot more canned cannabis-infused drinks than there were, but I'm thinking the wine portion of it has not taken off maybe as well as they'd hoped, or it's just kind of taking its good old sweet time like a good glass of wine should anyway. So, with that said, I looked into House of Saka, and the gist of these wines that they release, they have a pink and they have a white, is that based upon what the winemaker themselves say is it's an all-female team, and these are wines for women, by women. And well, I'm not a woman, but I still think I can enjoy these wines nonetheless because I do like wine, and you know, I'm not a big cannabis person, but I am still a curious person, so I'd like to see what these are made of. So let's actually start with their white wine. It is a Chardonnay-based wine. It has no alcohol because that is the current rules and regulations. If it's a cannabis-infused drink, it cannot have any alcohol in it. So wipe out the alcohol, throw in the cannabis. So we've got 30 milligrams of THC, and we have 6 milligrams of CBD in this bottle. If you remember, whenever I did the Rebel Coast Winery version, their first bottle, I believe, had 20 milligrams of sativa THC, but the second bottle had 40 milligrams sativa THC. So you see that this one actually has a tiny bit less. It's 30 compared to 40. However, there are 6 milligrams of CBD, which, as far as I know, that Rebel Coast Winery version did not have any CBD. Over here, we have their second bottle. It is their pink. It is a Napa Valley Pinot Noir based rosé. Now, it actually seems to have a bit less. It says it has 25 milligrams of THC and 5 milligrams of CBD. So it's actually got 5 less milligrams of THC than the white, and just 1 milligram less of CBD. So this one's even more for just really chilling by the pool, relaxing, maybe getting a buzz. So I'm gonna dive back into these again. I'm not a crazy big fan of this stuff, but I gotta see what it's all about. I'm not the demographic, but I still like to try wine, so here we go. All right, guys, it's been about 10 minutes now, And the back of the label says anywhere between 5 and 15 minutes, you should start to feel the onset of things. So it's probably a good idea that a lightweight like me gets started, because otherwise I may not be able to finish this video. I only took a few sips, so I'm not expecting anything crazy at this time. I mean, in fact, I think that's what they're hoping people do, not just down the whole bottle immediately. I guess overall, the thing about these types of wines is that they really don't compare to your typical bottles of wine, because they ultimately, with the alcohol removed and, you know, the cannabis added in, they ultimately kind of end up being a bit of a different taste, a different aroma, all of those items. So you ultimately end up having things that really aren't quite wines, but they're still, you know, enjoyable kind of fruity-ish drinks that, you know, they still have their place, obviously, because people enjoy these, but, you know, you really couldn't compare them to a true wine and expect kind of the same taste profile. So if you are expecting the same, you will not enjoy these types of wines. But that being said, let's get started here. All right, let's start with House of Saka's white. Like I said earlier, this is Chardonnay based. It has 6 milligrams of CBD and 30 milligrams of THC. It comes in a solid white bottle that you really can't see through. I'm guessing that's stylized for, you know, their particular reasons. I find it to be kind of similar to the Rebel Coast version. You know, you're not really going to get a Chardonnay kind of a smell to it. Ultimately, it's got a very slight hint of cannabis to it, similar to the Rebel Coast, the second version anyway. I don't really get too many other aromas from this. I mean, really the cannabis kind of overrules everything else. As far as the flavors go, definitely the cannabis you can taste. There is like a hint of some grape juice or some sort of a juicy kind of fruit to it, but it's really very mild. This is definitely kind of nice to relax and to chill out. But me personally, I think the cannabis taste is just a little bit too much. I mean, I'd prefer just something to be kind of like the primary. As far as the second wine goes, we've got their House of Saka's pink. It has 5 milligrams of CBD, 25 milligrams of THC, as I said earlier. It's in a very dark pink solid bottle. Again, probably for their stylized reasons. Now this wine, its coloring is rather interesting. It's definitely kind of a murky pink yellowish color, and I'm guessing that's just the blending of trying to blend together, you know, a Pinot-based rosé with the cannabis oil or whatever they ultimately use to make it have the cannabis in it. Overall, though, I do have to say that this one for me is more enjoyable. I prefer it over the white. Obviously, you're not going to get that Pinot-y kind of smell or taste to it, but you're going to get something this one is more, it just has a very strong pear taste and aroma to it, which to me is kind of what I said earlier against the white, is that we all know there's THC in this, but there's something else that's kind of the main flavor profile rather than just, oh yeah, it's a cannabis wine. And so you kind of get that as a secondary. I get kind of a peary kind of taste, peary kind of smell, and then at the same time I'm getting a dose of some cannabis and some feel-good juice. And yes, it is starting to affect me a bit more than it was earlier. But overall, you know, as you can tell, this color is kind of a funky little murkiness to it, but I do overall find this one to be a bit better. You know, it kind of feels like, I don't know if you've ever opened a can of like fruit cocktail, but I get that same kind of smell when I open a can of fruit cocktail as I do whenever I do a kind of a sniff of this. And I think that's a lot of the pear just kind of overpowering, but you know, there is a hint of a grape, but I think it's like high pear, lower grape. So in the end, we have a different category of wine that's not quite wine, but at the same time, they're trying to make it something similar to wine. It's not going to taste like wine, it's not going to smell like wine, but it's going to be something similar that you can sit around the pool and drink. Now, if you wanted to just go have wine, go have your wine. But this is something a little different and a little more, because you're not going to get that alcohol feeling. You're probably not going to get a headache from it. In fact, I've never tried it, but if you drank the whole bottle, you're probably just going to go to bed. But I think ultimately they're just good to chill out and relax and try something different. And, you know, cannabis industry is growing every year. It is something that's not going to go away this time around. And I think people finally can enjoy what they want to enjoy the way they want to enjoy it. And I think there's an industry for this, and I hope to see more of them. I hope this one does well. And I will talk to you guys soon. If you like what I'm doing, please subscribe, please comment. And I'm still able to talk, so mission accomplished. I will talk to you guys soon. Take care.